They lost over $1 billion in 2 months. We might actually be seeing the end of Hollywood as we know it. They're churning out flop after flop. The writers are unhappy with the pay structure and have been on strike all summer long. The actors have now joined in. The drama surrounding Hollywood is the most entertaining thing to come out of LA in years. Call it fatigue, call it whatever you want. The core issue is almost no movies this summer had anything special to make them stand out. They were generic, boring, and this is ironically becoming a deadly word. They were safe. Not you, Miles. You know we love you.
I love you.
Thanks for saying it back. They're not alone. The video game industry actually is experiencing a similar problem. This tends to go in cycles. Years ago, Rockstar Games put out this amazing series of games called Grand Theft Auto, and it was the third one, I think, that really went wild. You could run around the city freely, it had a very big story for the time, and it was one of the first big sandbox games. Also, it was super violent, or, at least as violent as a PS2 Xbox game was gonna get. Seeing GTA's massive success, several games tried to follow suit and produced stupidly violent sandbox games that were received very poorly. They weren't trying to make an entertaining game, they were only trying to make quick money. Years later, PlayerUnknown's Battleground and Fortnite would popularize the Battle Royale genre. Again, everybody ran to tack on a Battle Royale to their game with very little success. Now the new trend that games are doing is something called live service, and it sounds like a really cool idea if you're a studio exec that doesn't know anything except money good, want money. They sell a half-finished game and promise if everybody participates and they buy little trinkets, they'll continue to support the game and put out free expansions and updates. It's all so hollow, and the players are feeling it. Look, you deserve to make money when you make a great product, but there's a difference between making a great product and then wanting to sell it and just wanting to make money on a product. The latter has a much higher chance of being a poor quality product or a minimum viable product. That only works for so long because everybody else wants to make minimum viable products too, and then the market dries up. So we have Hollywood falling into the exact same patterns. This summer was full of remakes, live action cartoons, safe kiddie animations, boring action movies that were riding on name recognition, and the audience wasn't having it. Let's take a quick look at the winners and losers. Just in the month of May and June, we see almost every movie losing money. We see big budget blockbusters losing a lot of money. The Flash, Elemental, Little Mermaid, Indiana Jones, Rise of the Beast. Studios were expecting huge numbers for these things, and they put a lot of money into them, both in production and marketing, and they took massive losses. But even smaller budget ones like Ruby Gillman, like Asteroid City, About My Father, The Machine, these things were also taking huge losses. It's being reported that The Flash is the biggest losing superhero movie ever in history, with a reported $220 million loss. Transformers, Elemental, Little Mermaid lost at least $100 million. Indiana Jones probably lost as much as $300 million. Good Lord! That's a lot of money! Some of these movies lost money because of the marketing budget. They brought in almost as much as the production was, but we take a look here at Knights of the Zodiac and Kandahar, which only brought in 1/10 of their production budget. We never get to know the exact numbers on these things, but to make it easy, I just assumed that the studio would keep 50% of the gross ticket sales and spend 60% on marketing unless I found it reported otherwise. So we take the production budget times 1.6 minus half of the gross reported sales, and that gets you these rough numbers. And just in the months of May and June, Hollywood lost over $1.5 billion in 2 months. Kind of makes me feel better about those crypto and penny stock bets I had in 21, honestly. In May and June, only 3 movies appear to have actually made money after marketing and all of it was said and done. The Blackening, Guardians 3, and Across the Spider-Verse. The Blackening may be bringing in $1 or $2 million, which is an insane amount of money, but in movie terms, it's just not that much. Between Guardians 3 and Spider-Verse, they profited over $200 million, which is just a mind-boggling amount of money, but it doesn't even make a dent in the $1.5 billion that was lost across all the other movies. So what is the difference between these winners and losers? Why is this year so bad? Keith, do you know what the difference is?
I don't know.
Okay, that was the least helpful thing you could have said.
Roll it, tick the boom now.
I stand corrected. Well, I know. Audiences want good stories and entertainment that is, well, entertaining. Simple as that. Taste may change, one genre or another may come into or fall out of favorability, but audience will always want a quality entertainment product. Just like the video game industry, Hollywood has taken to churning out these half-finished products that clearly had no goal or person in charge. They just saw something work for somebody else and then copied all the superficial parts of it. DC has been suffering from this for years. Hey, Marvel has a cinematic universe. We sell comics. We should make our own cinematic universe. I mean, who cares if there's like a plan or if the tone is different from movie to movie, or if people are tired of seeing only Batman and Superman for the 7th time. Even when the writing and the story aren't like amazingly superb, if everybody involved maintains the attitude of serving and entertaining the audience and not serving themselves and whatever they want to do, it usually still works. I've only seen the first 2 John Wick movies. I'm still working on the other 2. They do not have good writing or dialogue. Let's not even pretend otherwise. But they are still extremely entertaining. The visuals, the color, the camera work, the choreography, it was all designed to give you a wonderful viewing experience. Their goal was to make the coolest action movie with the coolest action hero. That singular goal drove them, and so we got great movies. No wonder the most recent entry grossed $425 million against a budget of $100 million. I haven't seen it yet, so I cannot comment on the quality. But the Barbie movie is crushing it right now, coming up on $1 billion, I think, gross. Whether it was good or bad, it was unique. It was providing something new and different. The ad campaign was also very well done, making us curious, what is a Barbie movie going to be about without giving away the plot? It was bright, it was colorful, supposedly has some really fun musical numbers. Maybe it only looks good compared to the competition, but almost 3 weeks in, the box office numbers tell a story of an audience that is still very interested. Then look at Elemental and Ruby Gillman. These bland affairs could have been written by an AI, and they were so poorly thought out, both of them had accidental racist undertones.
Wow, this is garbage.
When we talk about entertainment, we often talk about the message or wokeism or whatever, but honestly, more than that, I think these things are failing because they're just trying to get your money as cheaply as possible. And I mean cheaply in effort, not in dollars. They're spending a fortune on this garbage. Take the recent Indiana Jones movie, for example. A lot of commentary on that was about Phoebe Waller-Bridge and how she was like a girl boss and she was there to be the strong female character and make Indy look bad and all that. Set the gender politics aside for just a minute, because the real sin of that movie is that it never bothered to ask what the audience might want. It's so obvious they thought they could just crap out some basic generic adventure script, slap Indy's name on it, show Harrison Ford the dirty pictures they obviously have to coerce him into this garbage, and voila! The money would just pour in. The politics, the message, that is a secondary symptom. If they were actually thinking about the audience and not themselves and their egos and the easy money they were going to make, the politics wouldn't even be there, and the stories would be better. That movie is what happens when you just take all the pieces of what should be in an Indiana Jones movie and then you just slap them all together. Okay, write this down. There's a couple things that need to go in there. We need a cave with some kind of traps in it. They don't have to make sense at all, just something that's life-threatening. We're gonna need some Nazis. Need a street urchin kid. Indy's gonna have to just get the whip out at least one time, and we need an old plane. So just make sure, no, that the order doesn't matter. Just put it in there somewhere. The upcoming The Marvels is one that I've been bagging on because I predict it's going to embody the very worst of Hollywood. A movie used to be about the vision of the director and the writers, and with this one, I think we're going to learn very little about Nia DaCosta. She might get a few things in here and there, which I've talked about, but overall, her voice is going to be blended together with the 4 dozen other voices of the committee that's making this movie, and it's going to combine, mesh together to form this flat, meaningless tone. It's going to be noise. It's going to be content. Closely related to the movies having no soul is these movies having massive budgets, and Disney is far and away the most guilty of this. We recently discovered that Secret Invasion had a $200 million budget, and it looked awful. I was only able to make it through 2 episodes, and I'm so glad I stopped there. I've seen reviews of the finale, and I am shocked at the lack of sense over there. Like, I genuinely thought, for real, those pictures floating around of Emilia Clarke with the Drax arm and she's flexing, I thought that was fake. Like, that's gotta be some YouTuber who's like, look, they made her a girl boss, and they were illustrating that point with this obviously fake, ridiculously stupid picture. Right, Rocket?
It's real!
I should not have to be using that joke and clip combo this often. Hollywood Hollywood keeps churning out stuff that genuinely looks like shit posting, and then I find out it's real. There's this internet adage called Poe's Law that states if you don't explicitly state that you are giving like a parody or a satire of somebody's extreme views, an observer might think you're being serious. We need to coin a term that describes how certain segments of our culture have become so extreme that even though they are genuine, they look like parody or satire. Terry Pratchett came up with Knurd. Maybe he would call this like Walsey Up. We've seen a lot of movies this year that are clearly cash grabs, but ironically, they're not grabbing any cash. This is a good time to mention Sound of Freedom. Whether or not you agree with what that movie was trying to say, it is clear that there was passion behind it. The people making it really believed in what they were doing, and they wanted to make more than just an action flick or suspense thriller because that's, a popular money-making thing. To be clear, not every movie needs to be this altruistic, heartfelt message, but you can tell when the people involved care about what they're doing and when they don't, even when it's just from an entertainment standpoint. I don't think Quentin Tarantino is trying to say something super deep with his movies, but it is clear that he takes movie making very seriously, and his audience appreciates that. In contrast, The Little Mermaid was completely soulless. Most of the actors didn't seem to care. The production team sure didn't seem to care. That movie was average on every level across the board because everybody involved was just punching the clock because it's just another Disney live action. My hope is that this summer's failures result in more heart and more risk in movies going forward, even if they are worse looking or shorter. Honestly, I'm hoping they are shorter. I can't remember the last time I saw a movie that was under 2 hours. Ugh. There's this popular thing that floats around about video games where people repost saying, I want shorter games with worse graphics made by people who get paid more to work less. Basically, it's this indictment of the video game industry and how they overwork their staff, and they make these gorgeous looking empty games. I am extremely excited about Sea of Stars coming out later this month for this very reason. It's a game with heart. Meanwhile, huge studios like Square Enix and Platinum Games put out Babylon's Fall last year. Had all the hype, the roadmap, all the live service trappings. 6 months later, they stopped supporting it. Less than 1 year after launch, they pulled the plug on the servers and the game is no more. So what do you think? Is 2023 the year that Hollywood's chickens came home to roost? Or maybe it's just the economy, everybody's broke and can't buy movie tickets? What changes do you think are going to result from this summer's failures? I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.